Let's start here. Let me just ask you, if you are 40, 50 years old and you maxed your 401k and you paid off your house and you pay your cars down and you live below your means, and so you were set, your retirement set, you're going to be content, but somebody came to you and said, siphon just 5% off, and this is a stock that could make you rich. And some people aren't comfortable with it. Some people are like, nah, I got my 401k. I'm not taking anything out of my 401k. And then there are other people like John Harbaugh that said, well, I'm going to be a Hall of Fame coach. I won a Super Bowl. I'm going to siphon off about 5-10% of that 401k. I'm not going to play it safe. I'm going to go all in on Lamar Jackson. And a lot of people are like, Lamar Jackson, that's crazy. He runs a lot. He can get hurt. It won't last. But John Harbaugh said, what lasts? Outside of Brady and Belichick and New England's dynasty, what the hell lasts in this league? So John Harbaugh, who had a great reputation, who had maxed his 401k, who was well-respected, was going to get Hall of Fame votes, said, you know what, I'm going to go all in on Lamar Jackson. I'm going to siphon off some of that 401k. I'm going to take a mortgage on my house a little bit, and I'm going to roll the dice on this kid, and maybe he'll get hurt. But this whole thing about Lamar won't last. What does in this league outside of New England? Nothing lasts. By the way, not every investment. I mean, you guys dated, right? You don't have to marry everybody you date. When you buy a home in real estate, when you get out of college, don't they call it a starter home? You know you can't raise your kids in it. It's not big enough, but you buy in real estate what they call a starter home. It's not what you're going to retire in. Not everything has to be forever. I don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to last. I don't know. You know, people tell me it's a lot like Colin Kaepernick. So let's just think about that for a second. Colin Kaepernick got to a Super Bowl and 2 NFC championships. Think 99% of the coaches not named like Bill Belichick would take that today? That's a failure. You looking at this league where 20 teams, this morning wake up and they don't think they have much of a chance to win the Super Bowl? Like, I don't know if this lasts, but what I know is it's great now. That gets you another contract as a coach, great now. And the other thing is, I don't think it's a fad or I don't think it's a trick. I think he's a much better, and I think Baltimore to me feels, you can say the Kaepernick stuff, but he was a better high school quarterback than Kaepernick, a better college quarterback, and he's a better NFL quarterback. Kaepernick never had a curveball. Everything he threw 100 miles an hour. Lamar's got touch. Lamar's a team guy. Lamar is coachable. Lamar is getting better. Lamar's about the team, not about Lamar. So, if nobody ever took a chance in life, you'd have no Vegas. If you weren't willing to gamble on stuff, you wouldn't have a Vegas. And if you weren't willing to gamble on stuff, we'd have no Silicon Valley, which now runs the American economy. John Harbaugh said, you know what? The 30 teams that drafted ahead of me, they don't want to do this. I'm just going to go all in. I got my 401k. I've been putting away forever. I built a great reputation. And again, I don't know if this lasts, but I know it's great now. And what lasts? Cam Newton gets defended at every corner. Anytime I criticize him, you defend him. Cam Newton's had one great year. Can't stay healthy. How long did that last? Aaron Rodgers, to me, does not look physically like the same guy he was 6 years ago after 2 collarbone surgeries. Nothing lasts. You just, in this league, you take what you can get. You've got to evolve. You got to roll the dice sometimes. Take New England out of it. Best coach ever, best quarterback ever, one of the best owners ever. Take the best offensive line coach ever. The rest of the league, be great now. It's okay to siphon off a little of the 401k to get rich now. I just love, everybody is so freaked out about, will this running stuff last? All these running quarterbacks work. Most don't last, but Russell Wilson's lasting. He never gets hit. And Kyler Murray, he's a baseball guy like Russell. Nobody's getting hits on him. Steve Young ran around for years. He ended up in the Hall of Fame. Kaepernick got to a Super Bowl. Lamar's on the best team now. Will it last? Most stuff in life doesn't last. I've said this before. The greatest product I've ever purchased, ever. There's one thing that I bought for nothing and it's lasted forever. Goulet, do you know what that is? It's a grill. I'm always shocked. You go to Home Depot or Lowe's, you pay $300 for a grill. I use it 190 times a year and it lasts 30 years. That's the only product I've ever purchased in my life. I'm like, I pay nothing for it and it lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. Win now. Roll the dice. Because what I'm watching in Baltimore is a lot better than what I see in Los Angeles, and let's shift to that. From day one, Joy is my witness, I said, let's slow down on Sean McVay as a genius. Let's slow down on the Rams are the future of the NFL. I said, remember the first thing I said? Kyle Shanahan is the best young coach in the NFC West. And Pete Carroll's the best coach in the NFC West. So McVay's third. The second thing I said is, I live in Los Angeles. I'm watching what's happening. The Rams are overpaying for everybody. LeBron comes to town, got a new stadium with PSLs. They're burning through money. Remember we used to joke with the Rams 2 years ago? We're like, are they using a different bank than everybody? Are they at one of these offshore banks where they get some sort of interest rate or they can hide money? Folks, this morning, the bank came to collect the note on the Rams. And they're 6-5. And they have no first-round picks for 3 years. And McVay's the second best young coach in his division. And they got to pay Jalen Ramsey a fortune. And Brandon Cooks may retire soon with a concussion issue. And they have major offensive line issues. And Jared Goff next year will be the biggest cap hit in the entire league. And oh, by the way, you paid Todd Gurley a year early, and he's done. He's a B back, and he's got 2 more years that you're going to have to load the Brinks truck over to his house. Last night, the Rams had 22 yards rushing. They ran the ball 9 times. This was a power running team a year ago. So on top of that, a story broke last week that the stadium overrun is making the $2 billion stadium a $6 billion stadium, which is as much as Jerry World, the Colts Stadium, and the Eagles Stadium combined. So that's just going to add more pressure on the organization to win now. McVay, win now. Coach Les Snead, build now. This thing is I'm not saying the Rams are a bad football operation. What I'm saying is they're the opposite of New England. Just talked about this with Lamar. Great is fleeting in this league. Nothing lasts. But here's a way to make success last longer. Pay rarely and never pay early. Now, New England's going to pay Stephon Gilmore. They paid Gronk. They paid for great kickers. They paid for offensive linemen or a pass rusher. But pay rarely, be frugal, and never pay early. And I thought the Rams, and I said this a year ago, LeBron came to town, new stadium, cost overruns, selling PSLs. They're paying everybody. They have the most expensive corner with Jalen Ramsey soon, and defensive tackle, and running back, and now quarterback. What's the hurry? Today they feel old, stale, tired. They look slow last night. Now, do I think McVay is smart? Yes. Do I think they have good people in the building? Absolutely. But this, to me, we got way too hot on this. I did not believe it was sustainable. I didn't think they'd fall and be this bad like last night. And to Sean McVay's credit, he's a stand-up guy and said, we're not going to waste too much time whining about this.
And we're all in this thing together, but I feel as responsible as anybody, and just put your head down and go grind and find a way to just get ready for next week, because just dwelling on this doesn't do you any good. And you can't run away from the problems that we did have tonight, but allowing it to set ourselves back is what this team will not do. I can promise you guys that.
Appreciate that. He's a super smart guy. My theory on life is trust smart people. They'll figure it out. But this always felt like a little too hot of an organization, a little too many stars, money for everybody, using a different bank. And last night, the bank came to collect. And they're a little shy in L.A. Ram land. He's still the all-time sack leader for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is remarkable considering it's the Mean Joe Green, Dwight White, the great Steel Curtain franchise, 15 years in the NFL, James Harrison, a Super Bowl champion. We bring him onto our show on a Tuesday, and his division is now dominated by the vaunted Baltimore Ravens. Let's start with this. I started my show today saying, well, everybody says, is Lamar sustainable? And my takeaway is, God, outside of New England, what's sustainable in this league? Last year, we thought the Rams were going to run the NFC. Do you think he's sustainable?
I think it's sustainable as long as he prepares his body for what he's going to be doing. He's going to be more of a runner, so he's going to have to train a little different than a normal quarterback would. He can't go and train like Tom Brady and use all bands. He has to put on some girth, some muscle, and be able to take contact if that because that's what he's going to be doing.
He did, by the way, in the offseason, James. It looked like he put on his traps got bigger. He looked like he got bigger in the offseason.
Yeah. So if that's what he's going to do, then I think it'll be sustainable. That's the big thing. Every time you get a black quarterback that's running the ball more than normally, for a quarterback, then you get it's a sustainable thing. As long as he does what he needs to do to train his body to prepare for what he's going to be doing at a position, you don't get this. Is it sustainable for a running back to play running back? I mean, that's as long as you train right, you know what I'm saying. You'll be able to do it. But my thing is, I think to defend Lamar, the big thing of trying to defend Lamar is the read option. I don't know if they still have that rule, but when I played, once the quarterback started that read option,
he's a running back.
He's running back. He loses the protections of a quarterback.
Yeah.
So we were taught to, as soon as he read action, whoever has the quarterback, beeline it to him. Don't read the mesh. Don't read nothing. Hit the quarterback, because a D lineman don't have to wait to see if this is a fake handoff or not to tackle the running back. He gets that same thing now because he loses that protection of the quarterback. And I think if you get people together and they start getting that scheme together of actually just saying, you know what, guy A has the quarterback, guy B has the dive, and then we go from there, you'll make him have to do what a quarterback does and pass the ball.
It's funny. I've years and years I've said that the advantage to being a great athlete and a quarterback is it takes quarterbacks, they say it takes about 3 years for the light to go on because the league's so much fast, the playbook's thicker. But you can win a lot of games in that 2 to 3 years with your legs,
right,
while you're figuring out. Whereas Jared Goff, you got to figure out the playbook fast because you're not going to win games with your legs.
Right.
I do feel like Lamar's getting better as a passer.
Yes,
I really
definitely. Do. Yeah, he's definitely getting better as a passer. He's more accurate with his passes.
No question.
He's making greater, more, technological decisions as far as reading the defense, seeing where the ball should go, and getting it there in a timely fashion. Yeah,
he's got.
Definitely.
It's funny when Kaepernick came out, he threw pretty much a fastball. There wasn't a lot of off-speed stuff. I think Lamar's really developed a nice touch. He mentioned, I think Joy had it yesterday, Lamar said, the ball felt weird to me as a rookie.
Okay.
The NFL ball felt big. Right. He said, I just had to, I played with a college football. He goes, there's no question last year, sometimes the ball would come off my hand, and I'd be like, this looks awful. His ball, I know it's just optics, but his ball looks better this year. It does. It looks like he's more in control.
Yeah, he probably practiced a lot more in the offseason, throwing the ball, just repetition, getting used to it, more time doing the same thing.
I want to talk about Jason Garrett's obviously on the hot seat. This is a very good team. They're 6-5. And when you juxtaposed him against Belichick on Sunday, who's all into details, you were briefly a Patriot. And I said, Garrett's never been a great detail or an analytics guy. And you can get away with that a lot in the NFL, but when you're facing Mr. Analytics and Mr. Detail and Belichick and you're up against each other, then it's like, oh, now I can really see Garrett's lack of attention to detail. Tell me a story about when you got to New England, because you told me before it was just different, the intensity about their attention to detail in Foxborough.
I've been with the Steelers, like you said, for a long time. Now, I went with the Patriots, and what I saw there as far as their attention to detail, that is the most detailed organization as far as their X's and O's planning that I have ever seen. And I was with the Steelers for 13, 14 years. They meet about meeting. You know what I'm saying? I'm dead serious. Like,
they meet about meetings.
They meet. We're going to meet, and we're going to have this meeting in 15 minutes, okay? And that's what we're going to do. I don't even know what happens if you're late there. Like, nobody knows what happens if you're late. You probably get sent to another team or something. I don't know. So when I first got there, obviously it was after Christmas, whatever, and I'm trying to learn the playbook. So it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. So they had me staying at the hotel that was right there at Foxborough. So I called my coach. I'm like, I'm having some questions about this certain defense and what I'm supposed to do. And he's like, well, just come on in. We can go over it, look at it on the film, all this. I'm like, come where? He's like, come down to the facility. I'm like, you still at work? He's like, yeah, we're all here. This is 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I'm dead serious. If you don't understand what you're doing there, you have to try to not learn. You have to blank out. I don't know how you would do it because they don't allow any type of technology going on in their meetings,
No
through their
cell
facilities.
phones.
Yeah. Your cell phone sits in your locker. You know what I'm saying? It don't go into any meeting rooms, anything like that. And for you to not know or understand what's going on there, you have to literally be trying not to.
Why isn't that the norm in the NFL?
Time. Some people don't want to put in that time. I mean, to be honest with you, like people ask me, like, why don't you want to coach? I'm like, it's more time than it is playing. And I put a lot of time in when I played. And to actually coach, it's not like you need to physically be able to go lift weights. All you got to do is put in the time, learn, and understand. But you got to put in a lot of time. And the more time you put in, the better understanding you'll have and the better you'll be able to explain it to your players and get them to perform.
Do you think Garrett's a bad coach? What do you think Jason Garrett is?
Right now, I thought he was just a terrible decision maker, and he can't get the information to his players in a timely fashion. And right now, I'm to the point where I don't even know if he has the power to do anything anymore with Jerry. I think his decision making at in the games was horrible, especially for last week.
Right.
Like, I'm going for that on 4th and 7. I haven't been down here this much, and I don't know when I'm going to get back down here. So, and the thing is, I gave him a pass because I'm thinking maybe he has a good reason for. Maybe he's thinking we got to score 3 anyway to win the game, so we'll get the ball again, come down and get his touchdown.
But
that was not his thought. His thought process was, well, we get a field goal here. And then when my defense gives up a field goal, we'll still only be down by 7. That's loser's mentality. You're not playing to win. So that right there led me at that point in time to be like, hey, you need to get rid of him, move on, get somebody in there that's not afraid to do what's necessary to win games.
You're a former Pittsburgh Steeler. They played the Browns this weekend. There was, obviously a very ugly incident.
Something happened?
Yeah, the Myles Garrett thing. It's amazing. I go to the grocery store. That people come up. That's all they want to talk about. My takeaway is you can't swing a helmet at people. I don't care whatever happened beyond that. You just can't do that, and that guy's going to get the big suspension. Does that change the Browns Steelers, like this game in Pittsburgh this week? Would it be talked about? Would Tomlin talk about that incident? Would that
I don't think that would be fuel for their fire, so to speak. That's something that was just totally outside the boundaries of the game. I think he would stick to what went on in the game, what they did wrong, that cost them to lose that game, and focus on doing that better this week and going through and making the Browns look like
you
the
wouldn't
Browns.
make a point of revenge of the helmet.
If I make a point of revenge of the helmet, how do I get you to get revenge from something that shouldn't have happened, that is just a totally out of bounds illegal way of doing things? That makes you think that I'm okay with you trying to bop somebody else back with a helmet then, right? If I was to talk to you in that manner, hey, they hit our guy with a helmet, we need to smash these dudes in the face. Well, are you telling me that I can get away with, you go let me pop somebody with a helmet? Like, I don't understand how you swing a helmet at somebody, to begin with, especially. I don't care what happened, even though it's bogus, because I've talked to guys that were actually there. Like, there's like, it was nothing said.
No racial thing.
No racial slur was said, so knowing the guys that were there that I talked to, like, that is something that it seems like a cop-out. Hey, I'm trying to lessen what I did and make it seem like, I had a reason for doing it. And that wasn't talked about until at the actual hearing. Maybe he said it thinking that, it would be a great defense, but it got out. Maybe he didn't think it would get out. Yeah. And now you're stuck with running with this same, what they're telling me is a lie.
Yeah. Finally, when you look at so we watched the Ravens last night take on the Rams, and players want to get paid, but the Rams paid a lot of guys, and now they have an offensive line issue, and they got no first-round picks and not a lot of money. I'm sitting there watching the Rams last night. Are you bailing on Goff, McVay? It was so bad and so ugly, or is it just one of those Mondays or Sundays, and James, you didn't have a lot of these, where everything that could go wrong did go wrong for the Rams?
I saw a team, especially on the defensive side, that just totally gave up. They were deflated. I mean, it looked bad, especially after the second quarter.
Quit, a little bit of a quit.
It just, it was no fire in their eyes. You could see, guys aren't even, talking to each other. It's just a blank stare, so to speak. And right now, you can't sell on Goff because he's sold in. He's all the way in. That's your franchise quarterback, whether you want it to be or not. Till
4 years.
Till 22. Till 22, that's your franchise quarterback. So you're going to have to figure out a way to make that work or whatever it is. But he's going to be there. That's one for sure, two for certain.
Yeah. Good seeing you, James Harrison. 2 Super Bowl champs, multiple-time Pro Bowl linebacker, all-time sack leader for the Pittsburgh Steelers on a Tuesday. Great seeing you.